Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. Hopefully we'll get chat connecting here.
Yes, hopefully we will have it connected. We're having our usual issues with the technology, the glitches and stuff. So hopefully you guys can get in and come say hi. We hope. This is a good live one. And I know it's good when you guys can kind of be together.
Yeah, so I'm going to see if I could bring this up on our other computer and see if we have anything coming through. I see that it shows that we're live. And there's people.
Yay.
Okay, so they're not showing up on the recorder, but I see people are here.
Oh, cool.
So we got Queen Star Sophia, Paige Denise, Everett H, Dickie Tyler, Holy 777, Jeff Blackhurst, Larry Griffiths.
Oh my goodness. Oh, hello, Larry. And there's Maria and Holy 777. There's good old Indigo Scorpio. Great to see you. Good. The room is filling up. This is really good that we have people able to be in here, because earlier we didn't have any internet. It wasn't letting us do anything, but now we seem to got it. I mean, we seem to have it. It's great to see you.
Yeah, lots of thoughts, Alex. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be going on. Last night was a very interesting night, as I shared on the video this morning, which it looks like they're really suppressing. It looks like they're suppressing the channel a lot more now. But that's to be expected, because truly this is it's all about light, and light is, again, it's info, it's information. So they're suppressing the light.
Yes, they are suppressing the information, and it's important information, because the system is going to have to change. We all know that it's not sustainable the way it is. And I think that they have one plan, and we need to have our own plan and plan for everything to go okay and things to not fall into chaos, and not pay attention to those shows that have, where everything is collapsing and people are being mean to each other. No, we're not going to envision that. We are going to have a whole different reality.
And we see Robert Johnson in the house. Gia says love is the law. And that's true. I mean, if we just focus on the love and the compassion, really everything else would kind of fall into place. It's pretty easy, pretty simple. We don't really need any specific dogma or anything. We just need to focus on the love and the compassion and growing that in our hearts. So the Ascension's all about going to the fourth chakra. It's all about opening up the fourth chakra. And Alex, welcome. Welcome to the family. Well, that is awesome that you've come a long way. And we're so honored to be able to help. And with the message getting suppressed so much, one thing that we have gotten from the Galactics is that we are actually reaching 10 to 100 times as many people as they're showing, because they don't want to show that. They want to show the truth. But we know, this is also the apocalypse, so everything's going to be revealed. And there's going to be a lot of revelations coming out between now and the end of the year. It's hang on tight, guys. Hang on tight. Nothing is as it seems. Nothing is as it seems. And so why are we looking at a picture of, a city with no lights on? Well, one of the things that we could take from this picture is, how often do you get to see the Milky Way galaxy in the middle of a city? How often do you get to see the stars like that, with the bright lights of the city outshining, the celestial bright lights?
Yes, and we need to always keep thinking about the positive side of things, instead of looking at this picture and thinking, oh my gosh, that it's dark and it's cold and it's scary and somebody's going to mug me. No, let's focus on the good. Let's focus on what's important. And actually that Milky Way galaxy up there, when you do get an eye full of that, oh my gosh, does it open the heart chakra. It's such a body rush, when you are able to open your eyes and take all that information in. And I don't know about you guys, but when I go outside at night and I get to be under the stars, it's a little bit different than being under the sun in the daytime. So I don't know why the frequency is different. So yeah, I mean, why is it different between the sun and the nighttime sky? I think the stars are just a different frequency.
Mm-hmm. So we gave a message a couple days ago from the Pleiadian High Council, and they were just saying, you might not realize it, but you guys are doing a really good job, because more and more people are waking up, more and more people are seeing that's all a big illusion, and more people's heart chakras are opening up. So consciousness of the earth is changing. So, of course, the dark side has been trying to just pull us down, down, down into the muck and mire where they live, and they want to keep us there. But they're not as effective as they want to be. And we had talked a while back when Cindy was remote viewing the VATICAN, and said there was big discussions and a lot of yelling and a lot of unhappiness there, and kind of almost a panic. So, we got some more insights onto, some of the plans that are being laid by these powers that be. And one of the things that they want to do, see, they're not all in unison, but they all report to ultimately the same place. And that's the same thing with the politics, too. Ultimately, even though they might disagree on things, and it's very obvious, some of the things, ultimately, when you get to the highest realms, it's all part of the system. And everything in the system, when you get up through the pyramid, when you climb up that pyramid to that top point where the all-seeing eye is, they're reporting directly to the same beings. And, it doesn't matter how far down the pyramid you go. What you have as you go down the pyramid is people not understanding what's really going on. And as you go up the pyramid, they understand the bigger picture till you get to the very top, because they're reporting directly to these beings. And so there is a faction right now that really wants to pull the plug on a major event within 2 weeks, because for one thing, in 2 weeks we have a lunar eclipse. And again, they know the programming of the matrix, so they want to take advantage of the programming of the matrix. And so we have a lunar eclipse where the light of the moon goes dark. And there's a faction right now that wants to make it all go dark in about 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Right. We are going to be, we are having upgrades, we have been having upgrades for like the last 10 years. But this is where it's getting really, really important, with our heart chakra starting to open up at a much higher degree, a much higher understanding, and being more, we're going to be becoming more, we're just going to be nicer to each other, and we're going to have more gratitude, and we're going to be able to forgive a lot more. And they know that the human's consciousness is rising up, up, up. And the way that they want to try to suppress it is to make everybody inconvenient, uncomfortable, and hopefully people will fight amongst each other and destroy ourselves. But that's not happening. What's happening is our vibration is going up, heart chakras are opening up, and more people are going to be there helping their neighbors than ever before.
So they expected that we would have had more chaos than we've had at this point. Yes. That's the bottom line. They expected it. So they're just going to keep ramping it up, is the bottom line.
Right. And they would prefer to do things sooner rather than later, because our heart chakras are opening up more and more and faster and faster. And the more our heart chakras are open, the more humans are simply going to get along instead of falling apart when things go bad.
Yes, so, you guys, so good to see you guys there. All these beautiful names, beautiful souls, beautiful lights out there. So there's a lot to this. Okay, so they understand things, yet you got to realize they're acting out of like deep, dark emotions as well. So, just like when a kid that maybe has been a little bit spoiled doesn't get its way, it starts throwing a temper tantrum. It might actually break some of its toys. It, might actually do things that later on it would regret. Well, one of the things, if they do pull the plug and turn the lights out, For one thing, we're not going to be affected by all those signals, which is a plus for us. And what Cindy is getting from the Galactics, and I have seen some visions of as she's getting the downloads, I could kind of see what she's seeing often, is actually, more of a coming together, more of a people not necessarily preying on each other. There will be those that always take advantage of situations. We know that. But on the whole, the greater portion is going to be pulling each other up. And they can't have that. So they got to get us more and more frustrated and mad. And they got to wind us up big time, all the way to when that, rubber band's going to snap, basically. So if they do this and pull the plug, then basically it slows down their progress with laying out some of the other plans. We're not going to be getting bombarded by the Wi-Fi. We're not going to be getting bombarded by the FIVE. That's going to stop too. There's going to be a lot of things that stop. And without all that buzz going on from all the electronic chatter constantly, we'll be able to connect to a higher degree inside and to the higher realms. So it'll actually end up giving some that don't panic the opportunity to progress greatly and to vastly accelerate their ascension process. So that's why there's infighting right now, and they're not sure when they're going to try to pull this plug. Some want to do it right now, and specifically when Cindy was getting that info, she was again taking a peek at the VATICAN, because they're the ones that really report directly to the powers that be.
Right. They report up, and ultimately we do have this draconian system that wants to stay in control, and they're not sure exactly how to do it, because without the technology, our heart chakras are just going to open up much faster, and human evolution is going to occur much faster. But at the same time, they kind of want to unplug because they know that would cause an inconvenience, and that could really, if people are afraid and in fear, their heart chakras are not going to be able to open up as much. And they're aware of this. They've done this many, many, many different times. So they kind of know what they're doing, and they're hoping that people won't figure out how powerful we are.
Yeah, we have a lot more power than we think. We are tremendous co-creators in this universe, this multiverse. And I've talked about this several times in different videos, the Kardashev Scale. So in 1964, Russian astrophysicist Nikolai Kardashev figured that civilizations can be categorized by the total amount of energy available to them. He defined 3 levels of civilizations based on their capacity to harness and use power. These have since been expanded by another 4, in the light of increasingly wild speculations spawned by marrying mathematics and theoretical physics. The Kardashev Scale, as it's called, now lists 7 levels of civilization based on their power consumption and their implicity into their technological advancement and extension. So a Type 0 civilization is a civilization that harnesses the energy of its home planet, but not to its full potential. As you might have guessed, that's our good old human selves here. We're currently at about 0.73 on the Kardashev Scale. It's presumed we'll reach Type 1 in about 100 years, give or take. Now, that might not be accurate when you talk about the hidden technology and all the technology that we've gotten from these extraterrestrials and interdimensional beings. So the reality is we very well might be at a Type 1. What we see out there for publication is 0.73. We're not quite at Type 1. A Type 1 is a civilization that's capable of harnessing the total energy of its home planet. So this is where we're heading, whether we want it or not. The good part is that we'd be able to achieve an ultimate peak. The bad part is we would then soon have more energy demand than supply, because evolution can't be so easily halted. We'd have to leave Earth and start pumping other planets for their worth, or even milk our own star directly for its power. Regardless, becoming a Type 1 civilization is overall a good thing, at least in fiction. So as a Type 1 civilization, we would be capable of controlling Earth entirely. Maybe even influencing the weather. How about that? Maybe even controlling volcanic eruptions and actually making earthquakes. Influence global flora and fauna, perhaps causing some things to go to extinction and creating something else new through genetic manipulation. Geological makeup, even affect plate tectonics. Wow, that's huge. On the flip side, we'd have to recycle everything to get by. It seems like we already are there. We know about Tesla's earthquake machine back in 1890, somewhere around there. 1888, 1890, somewhere in that range. And we have all that technology. There's so many declassified documents that even show machines that would basically create free energy. It's all there. It's all really there when you look at it. It's just being hidden. So we're already probably at that whole level right now. Type 2, interstellar civilization, capable of harnessing the total energy output of a star. This is the next stage in the evolution of a civilization, presumes a level of technological development that allows for gigantic constructions and utmost efficiency. Dyson structures, like Dyson Sphere here you see around a star, a sun, they come to mind, where you have these massive, gigantic constructions that are meant to harness the energy of stars. I imagine a Type 2 civilization would not just build these megastructures, but also inhabit them and completely control what goes inside of them. Think kind of Death Star as well, and you could also think Nibiru.
And why does the VATICAN have one of these Dyson spheres as like a trophy on their lawn?
Hidden in plain sight.
Right.
And it's true. There's a Dyson sphere on the Vatican property, hidden in plain sight for all to see. Just like the Pope walking around with a staff with a pine cone representing the pineal gland. And he's like, I know what this is. I know all the secrets and you don't.
And treating us like total idiots.
Yeah, it's all right there. It's all right there in front of us. And so what are they telling us? They're telling us that they could do a lot of things. And so if our secret space program has, the abilities of a Type 1, how about the ones they're reporting to? How about these Greys flying around in their ships? And how about the Draco and the Nordic ones that are under the draconian control? What type of technology do they have? And could they actually affect the sun? We were watching our brother Wage's World, Mark, formerly known as Blue Kool-Aid, and he did a live, and he was talking about the activity on the sun and what's going to come because the magnetosphere is down. It wouldn't take much, to create a CME if you had that type of technology. It wouldn't take much at all, and that's exactly what Cindy saw. Do you remember what you saw? You were in semi-trance. No. She saw basically that they were taking the activity that was happening on the sun, and they were doing something to it. They were augmenting it. They were sending like another energy into it, which was getting the sun to go ahead and have a CME.
Yeah, that does sound about exactly right.
Yeah, so, a lot of times 3 and 4 in the morning when she's channeling and she doesn't remember, exactly what she says, but I try to get it all down. So, they can control this. They can initiate CMEs. And so that's exactly what we're talking about. It's about creating the conditions where the sun will have a CME, and then we'll come and knock out at least part of our grid.
Mm-hmm. Right. And, try to make it so that we're inconvenienced and our heart chakras might close up. That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah. The opposite of love is fear. And so creating fear creates a shutdown of the heart chakra. It's just that simple if we really get into fear. Hey there, Riser. Good to see you. And Comfy Cushion joined us as well. Yeah, and then as your rising star says, mind control as well. That's another piece to this puzzle because they're going to be losing numbers as time goes on. And this war is longer probably than most people anticipate going on. This battle. It is one that's going to take a bit. It's going to take a bit, but it's going to go up to a level we haven't seen before very shortly. In actuality, what we're getting right now with the current timeline, and timelines can change, but what we're getting right now is, absolute major developments before we get to Inauguration Day. And by the time we get to spring, the country does not look the same. Things are not functioning like they normally did. And I mean even COVID normal.
Right. And this is why they want us to focus on raising our vibration, because the thing is the beautiful part is that timelines can change, and they don't want us in fear. And if we do focus, let's see, I think it came from it was from the Octarians, were showing me how they want us to tell you guys to focus on a white ball of light between the pineal gland and the heart chakra. And as you're focusing on this white ball of light, they can actually use that to help raise the vibration of the collective. They don't necessarily, I don't want to say that they have technology, but everything they use is energy from us and from the earth, and they do want to help, but they also need us to use our free will. So with our free will, meditating on that white ball is going to be very helpful in making things so they don't get as bad. And there's Miss Susan Donahue. Hello.
Good to see you, Susan. So yeah, there's a lot going on right now. And so what Cindy was seeing, and we were kind of remote viewing this, different timelines, like we were remote viewing inauguration, and what she saw was just an empty podium. So she saw an empty podium. She did see people walking around the periphery, but the podium was empty. So that was interesting. We were looking at DC, and we are not completely sure of the time frame, but you think it was around the Jupiter-Saturn transit.
Yeah, around the Jupiter-Saturn transit. That's when things are really going to take a different kind of step or a side step. That's a really important time.
And so that's around December 21st, guys. Now, December 14th is when, they're supposed to, the electors are supposed to do their thing, and we're supposed to basically ring in the new president and then set up for Inauguration Day. So that's an interesting time. I'm trying to remember the middle day. You know what? I think that was the middle day between the two eclipses. I think that is the middle day. It was either the 11th or the 14th. So that's curious, because of that energy there too. So when we're looking at what's Washington, D.C. going to look like around that time period, we saw the Capitol, we saw the White House, and it was empty. It was empty. It was dark and empty, and it was dark. That's the other part. And I was asking her about the darkness and asking her to step back, look farther out. And so what she was seeing was basically like a blackout situation that seemed to be extending all over the country, even into Canada and Mexico.
Yeah, and this is where things get a little different, because our vibrations are going to be going up. And when they're hoping that we are going to be freaking out, scared about not getting food, scared about not having shelter, people are automatically going to step up, and their heart chakras are going to be open. People are going to be coming together, and they're going to be okay. So, and congratulations, Luffy King of Pirates. I'm proud of you. Good job. So yeah, that's what we really need to focus on, is making sure that everything is going to be okay when things do change.
So what we saw was the potential for everything to go dark in as little as 2 weeks, as there are some in the, in that place that has an awful lot of riches. They're one of the richest private entity in the world. are pushing for this to move forward ahead of, I think, what was planned, ahead of schedule. They want to take advantage of the lunar eclipse. And again, these guys, they do everything according to, the movement of the stars. So, and this goes way back. I mean, this goes back to ancient Persia and Babylon. They recognize the value of paying attention to the position of the planets and the stars, because that's how this matrix works. It's the programming of the matrix that we're in. So there are some that want to move that to just 2 weeks away. But what we did see was, by the time we get into the colder weather in December and January, there is going to be prolonged lights out periods, and it might last quite a while. And it seems, what was interesting too, is I asked her to take a look at different areas around the globe, and it really seemed like it was the Western Hemisphere the most. So perhaps it's a CME that impacts directly down the Western Hemisphere. There's also the possibility too of the other three letters, EMP, which we've talked about before. And EMP is probably how they would start the global war. And Cindy did see also them trying to do just that. And we are not sure of the timing, but I think you were feeling that was still months away. But first comes the chaos in the States. Now, when she looked over at Europe, she saw there was light there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There was light in Europe, and there was light in Russia. Russia actually seemed to be completely unaffected, pretty much. It seemed like things were relatively normal in Russia. China, it seemed like the food situation was not good. She also saw, it's kind of gross to say, but feces building up and them having problems perhaps with water issues, hampering the ability to just, use the sewer systems and things like that. So China was running into problems with food and a little social tension, not what we have here, because they're obviously way more under control than Americans would be. They're far more controllable. And that's part of the reason why so many things are in the plans for over here, because we're not as controllable.
Right. Ascension is happening, and it's happening no matter what. And there is a few things that they can do to slow it down, but you can't stop nature. You just can't stop it. Life will find a way.
And we're all getting way more psychic. We're really coming online. More people can see right through things. And we have a bunch of our family members that just joined us, like David Lewis over in the UK. Good to see you always, brother. And Gary Hines made it too. A little bit late, but that's fine. So, just to recap, what we saw again was the possibility of there being some sort of lights out in 2 weeks, as there's a group that would love to do that. Although it seems like the original plan was to push that whole idea back farther. We do see definitely around the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, which is right around the winter solstice, December 21st, a high potential for there being a lights-out condition throughout pretty much the whole country, Canada, Mexico perhaps as well. Now, she saw them basically tinkering with the sun, trying to trigger a CME. She said it was like a laser.
Yeah, it was like, I saw this long stick thing and I couldn't quite figure it out. It was like a straight line. It looked like a arm of some piece of equipment. I know we would never have like a ladder or anything up there. So what came to me is like a laser to irritate a certain part of the sun, to get the sun to sneeze.
Yeah, trying to create that solar sneeze that everybody's heard of for a long time now. I know a lot of people have been talking about that. I know Corey Good, David Wilcock, as well as many others. We have you go way back to when Art Bell used to have his show, when Art Bell was doing it. And what was that guy's name? You guys could help me. The remote viewer. All right, somebody got that. Shoot, the remote viewer always talked about the kill shot. Ed Dames. Yes. Ed Dames. Yep. That's right. I mean, he was talking about that forever, where it would fry everything. we don't know if this is necessarily that. We don't feel it's the big wave. It's not the big wave that's going to change everything. That's a ways off. We're still seeing that like a decade away. The wave that literally changes everybody's DNA and everything. But this is something that's part of their plan of lowering the vibration.
Yeah, to try to just lock us down and keep us doing another cycle where we come back just for them.
And another interesting thing is, what did she see on the streets? So I asked her to see, what did it look like on the streets? And she said she did see soldiers, although it wasn't like a massive display. They were spread thin, basically spread very thin. And, just like maybe one Jeep here, 3-4 soldiers there. They were there. There was a presence of that. But they were definitely spread thin. The other thing that was interesting that she saw was a variety of different colors. And so she did see some blue helmets in there.
Yeah, the blue helmets, but for the most part, it was like blue helmets, black helmets, dressed in fatigues. I didn't see any insignias. I didn't see anything in a different language, different vocabulary words. I did see like red patches, but I couldn't tell what those were. It's just like red patches on certain people's fatigues. So yeah, nothing super clear. So it seems like it's sort of like a mix.
So as Will says, UN, the feeling was it could be UN involvement. And I did have a vision of that maybe about 15, 16 months ago. I told Cindy when I came out of it that I was telling her, I can't believe that tomorrow there's going to be foreign soldiers on American soil. I can't believe that there's really going to be, different soldiers walking down our streets. And then I saw them in the planes, like the big troop transport planes, loaded with them. And there seemed to be a lot of different nationalities that were coming here to help with a situation. So I asked Cindy, so it doesn't seem like the power is going to come out of the White House anymore.
Right. The powers doesn't feel like it's coming out of there. It just feels like it's going to appear to be coming from a few different places.
Yeah, it feels as if the entire government is either gone to Camp David, perhaps, they're underground bunkers in West Virginia, or maybe they're in the underground bunkers in Denver as well. Something like that, or perhaps both. But they're ruling, they're controlling, they're trying to rule and control, not from DC. So, DC is no longer it's no longer the, center of politics and control in the U.S. And we were getting this definitely by spring, but perhaps even before that.
Well, when I was looking at the White House on the lawn and stuff, there was it was actually kind of taken over like with a big tent city.
Yeah, so that was big. What does the White House look like? Well, it looks like there was actually people inside the White House, just regular old people, looking around and just poking around, and then people sleeping in tents out on the White House lawn.
Yeah, so we don't know exactly how everything is going to unfold and open up, but I think our job, as light workers right now, it's really important to work on our heart chakras and be very forgiving, extremely forgiving. If someone is doing something that bothers you, or you don't think this or that is right, you know what? It's just not worth the effort and the little irritation you might have. Just allow that person to be who they are and forgive and love them anyway.
And welcome, Patrick. Glad you're catching us live. So when I asked her in particular about, say, Biden, did it seem like he was active and doing things? And you said it seemed like he was frustrated and like he was unhappy with his situation.
Frustrated is a good word. Things not quite going the way he wants, under duress, and because I feel he's fully controlled by like the Draco. I think they're the ones that are irritated because things are going to turn out better than they want them to.
So it didn't seem like Biden was the one in charge and all. And then I asked about President Trump and your feelings. Well, you saw that you didn't see him.
Right.
Nobody was seeing President Trump. Although you felt like he still might be in some form of control, but not really control, because it seems like it's more of a case of martial law where the military is in control.
Yeah, not a public display of control through him. However, yeah, it does feel like he's behind the scenes somehow controlling something or other. It's just really difficult to articulate because I'm going by the feelings that they gave me. So I'm doing my best to understand it.
And back in August, too, we told you, and we did a video August 4th, I think it was, or August 6th, and I showed it on like the last live stream. We were talking about the line of succession, how that flows. Also talking about what Cindy got was that it would almost appear as if President Trump was no longer with us, or quote unquote, maybe not even alive. And I think when we look at what we're seeing right now, if you look at the way the votes are going, that's an analogy you could equate, because it doesn't look like he's quote unquote alive in the race. But then, that could be also misleading, because it could be that it goes to the Supreme Court. And obviously with, that whole just having the Ruth Bader Ginsburg thing happen, where she just died just before all this, and then he gets to appoint, another conservative judge. That's just an amazing little coincidence there, right? So if it does, with all the litigation go, and there are some grounds where a lot of this can get overturned. Wow. Okay, so you're going to have Biden talk at 8 Eastern time tonight, and he might even declare himself the president-elect. And then, if, like, say, when we get into December, sometime, again, another date, the dates to remember are right around the 14th November, the 30th of November, and then around the 21st of December. Remember those dates and those time frames, because at some point in time, things get flipped, and that might be right around November 30th. And then, that's, again, it's all about creating that chaos. Can you imagine how half of this country is going to feel? Maybe 52% of the country. Can you imagine how they're going to feel?
Right. They're going to need light workers to be there to explain, because people that are asleep and who still watch the media and actually believe what's happening, they're going to need some guidance. But don't forget, their heart chakras are opening up too. So it's like everybody's taking a step up, up, up. And even though maybe your family might seem a little futile to talk to them right now, don't give up on them. Do not give up on them, because just remember, we are all evolving as one. So people who seem asleep today might very well be awake right around that time, because their heart chakras are opening up.
Yeah, and that's the big take from this. As you guys know what we believe, and we believe that we're all just, we're source itself. We're the Jiva, we're the Atman. We're that individual spark of creation that has many, many lives. So again, it's more important to how we react in these times, and keep our vibes high and pull together. And what Cindy is getting, that even through all this, people are not going to devolve into chaos as much as they had hoped.
No, they're not. Absolutely not. It's actually beautiful. It's kind of a mixed feeling, because I don't want anybody to get hurt in any way. But when I do the remote viewing and I look around and I do see that there's lights out and stuff, at the same time, I see a tremendous amount of people loving and caring for each other in a way that might seem impossible, but that's what I saw. And we're going to be able to work with each other face to face now at some point very soon, because our heart chakras are opening up. Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing. So, the ascension process keeps going on even in the face of all this. Now, we should be practical if, we know that there's going to be prolonged blackouts. And you got that this whole situation could go on for almost 3 years, is what you had received.
Yeah, it's really hard to put a timeline on it. So it's more of an impression that seems like quite a while. What I would perceive is about 3 years.
Yeah, can you imagine that? And so if we do get brief periods where all of a sudden, the internet comes back up, lights go back on, and then again something else will happen, and they'll go back down. Think about that, guys. Think about it right now, and it's hit us. Have any of you guys been having problems with the internet? I don't know if it's just us. We sense the tall gray often whenever we decide and give a little bit of time before we go on live. It usually seems that these darker powers come and play with the internet, like it basically shut off our internet on us. I had to reboot it and had to go and clear the space so we could get back up. But are you guys finding problems with the internet? Are you guys finding the internet going down? Are you finding technology glitching? Because I think that it's starting to happen. I think we're going to be seeing this more often, and then it's going to be boom. And then can you imagine it being cut off from your family, your friends? I mean, when something happens, we all just automatically just grab for that phone and got to check the text messages. And, like when you check them in the morning and you see, okay, well, it doesn't seem like anybody's talking about anything significant. Or, in my case, a lot of times I'll be like, looking at something and it'll say like, hey, brother, did you see that 6.9? And I'll be like, oh my, let me go check on this right away. So can you imagine if we can't just go and verify with each other how that's going to feel? And it's going to be tough. But again, this is where the other side of the coin is coming in, because our abilities are increasing. And, that ability to just reach out to your loved one, your friend, your partner, even if you're separated by miles, and send an intention, and they'll be able to pick it up.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And, even though, things are going to change, it's really important to keep that vision of peace in your mind. Our energies are strong enough that we can co-create what we want the future to look like. And the system does need to go down, but it doesn't need to be ugly.
Well, that's good that you did that, Debbie. You sleep better when you turn the Wi-Fi off and, are shielded from all those energies. And again, it's going to be critical to really, again, pull together with your family and your friends and your neighbors. That's what's going to really, really take. The power's out. Your best friends, your family members and stuff, they might be miles and miles away, hundreds of miles away, states away, even different countries. Do you know your neighbors? Do you know who's living down the street from you? If you're, in a country position like where we are, there's like 3 houses that you might be able to see, because they're like, maybe 500 yards away, and then quarter mile, and then like a mile down the ways. Do you know those people? It would be a good idea to get to know these people and start to work together. Think about things again like greenhouses. If you have a well, the electricity's out, are you going to be able to get water? Or is it dependent on electricity? Do you have a generator? Do you have propane? That's why I like, if you're going to get a generator, I would advise getting one that runs off of propane and gas. It's nice when you do have a big propane tank in the yard like you see out in the country so much, because it might last 6 to 9 months. That might actually get you through the periods of the blackouts.
Yeah, and also remember, I think what I want to impress upon people is, wherever you're at, remember that everybody's heart chakra is opening wider. People are evolving, and when you show that love and that light, people want what you got, so they do what you do. And the way you act and the way you behave is going to kind of set the tone for the way people act and behave around you. So let's just make the best of what we got.
Yeah, that's what we have to do right now, because it is go time. And whether we have 2 weeks or whether we have 6 weeks, before we run into this type of situation where we really, really, really are kind of locked down. And if the difference between a CME, there's several differences. We talked about that in a whole different video. CME and an EMP, like if it is an EMP, that's worse. Really, because that's going to take out so much of our cars. It's going to take so much of our tech totally out, as opposed to just having all the grid come down. So that would be a worse scenario. But we should prepare for both and be ready. And are you going to be able to heat the house? Do you have a wood burning stove? Do you have propane, like we were talking about, a generator? Do you have a lot of gas for that generator? Because what if it's 6 months?
Yeah, there's a lot of different things to take into consideration with the changing times. I guess what I was really pleased to see when I was seeing all this is all the people working together in the big cities, actually, is what I saw. That's where they expected the most chaos and the most bad things to happen. But no, that's not what I saw at all. I saw people opening up to each other, making little clans, making little cliques, changing the old system into the new system.
And they will end up pulling out one stop, after the other, in order to create that chaos and that fear, which will, slow down the ascension process. So, the most important thing is keep your vibes high, work together, get stronger as a unit with your loved ones and your family members and your friends and your neighbors, and really work on that spiritual practice. And it always makes me feel so good when we get people that we have worked on or worked with, and then, give them a little bit of direction, and they come back and they let us know that things that were so horrible are like no longer there anymore. And they're growing, leaps and bounds, or relationships are getting better. And of course, every situation is unique.
Yeah, it is unique. Sometimes people need help through family situations, and I don't know, sometimes just the right little bit of energy and shove in the right direction can send things, in a much better place.
Patrick and Corey are bringing up a subject that has been in my mind, and I keep forgetting to do it, to just buy an old-fashioned washboard. What are we going to do with, all the technology that we have? Like, we don't have a dishwasher. We actually don't have a washing machine. We don't have a dryer. We actually haven't been using any sort of heat at all. And we've been okay, where we are. We've been comfortable, actually. So, I guess the only thing we have is hot water. So that's been like kind of the one convenience that we would miss if we didn't have that. But, we got propane tanks, and we should really get even more backups for that. And, think along those lines.
Yeah. So, and go back, like if you have your backpacks and stuff set aside for everyone, go through. And like if you have children in diapers, double check your diapers are the right size, because those little ones grow so fast, and you don't want to be on a situation where you don't have the right size of clothes, warm clothes, socks, shoes, hats. That should be done probably every 3 months or so.
Lots of things to think of, guys. So again, to recap, there is a faction that seems to want to cause a event that would lead to prolonged blackouts in perhaps as little as 2 weeks. Seems like there were original plans for that to be a little bit farther down the line, but some are pushing to move it up. Of course, we have all the election chaos going on, which again, as we said before, is all part of a big drama. It's all about eliciting fear and chaos, because the control through fear. And just look at all the different phrases that they bring up. They do this to us. Everything is right out there in the open, just like Cindy was talking about. Just talking about the Dyson Sphere that happens to be sitting at the lawn of the Vatican. And you got, ordo ad chaos, right? Ordo ab chaos. It's order out of chaos. This is the major plan that they have going. It's all about creating the chaos and then bringing in a new order.
Mm-hmm. Right. And they're really counting on people kind of losing their just losing their stuff and not being able to function and turning on each other. And that's just not going to happen. And I was really happy to see that. And I hope you guys hold that vision in your mind too, of our heart chakras opening and people just getting along and things simply getting better and better and better on our own as a collective.
Yeah, one of our family members, Scott, just texted me saying a solar heated camp shower for your hot water, seen him at Walmart. And we actually got one as a gift from one of our family members. And, we left it out there in the sun where the old property was that we had. We still have it, but we just haven't done anything with it because we just don't feel good about the area. And it melted. It actually melted. The metal actually melted. That's how hot it gets, in the desert out that way. We had a change in plans. We were hoping to show you guys a homestead, and we are hoping to do that as well. We just are looking to do that in a different area, and we might be very close to having that situation, in which case the first channel, Evolutionary Energy Arts, will be all about homesteading and what we do there on the homestead. So it's all we need is love, as Linda Michaels says. That is so, so true. Although I think right now it would be very, very prudent to make sure, if you haven't, make sure you got enough, all the basics, food, water, whatever type of first aid supplies you would need. Batteries, we just got like another 2 huge packs of AA just in case. We have those LED lanterns which last forever, and so we have backup AAs for those. And then we got some more candles. We're going to go out and get like another maybe 30 or 40 candles, or maybe 100 at the dollar store, right? Because it might be a while without that, without all the niceties of modern living.
Right. Everyone just understand that, or just keep in your mind that things are not going to be as bad as they think. That's what just keeps coming through. And don't forget to meditate on the ball of white light, because that helps the Arcturians come and use our energy to make things a little bit better.
Yeah. And as Gary was saying, solar. It's wonderful to not have an electric bill. Isn't it not? Isn't that wonderful? And then if you have a well, it's wonderful not to have a water bill. Yay. That's a plus just in and of itself right there.
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm.
So guys, we want to thank you for joining us. As always, we want to thank you for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. We really couldn't do it without you guys, especially with all the censorship that goes on in this world. And, it's time to just keep rising above the storm, rising above the fray, not get pulled into this drama that we see. Though we know there will be some that are pulled in, that's going to happen. Don't allow it to pull you down.
Right. Don't allow it to happen to you.
So as always, guys, God bless and namaste.